All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy CMB checking in. And guys, we are coming off of a great night of fights at the T-Mobile Arena last night in Las Vegas, Nevada. We had the big fight, of course, that I want to talk about right now. Mario Barrios, the former WBC champion, put his title on the line against Ryan Garcia. You guys know Ryan Garcia back was against the wall. This was one of those fights that he had to win, or a lot of people were going to kind of see him as gatekeeper status. And he didn't disappoint, man. He rose to the occasion last night. So let me shout out Ryan Garcia and his team, improving his record to, I think, 25-2 now, becoming a champion for the very first time. You guys know that was one of my big gripes about Ryan Garcia. He did a lot of talking, but, he never accomplished anything. But last night, like I said, his back was up against the wall, and he had to be disciplined going into the fight, and he did just that. He went back to the drawing board, worked on some things, and came out victorious last night, putting on a spectacular performance, in my opinion. Now, just to be transparent, in the recap, I did pick Barrios to win the fight in my prediction video. I said that Barrios would win the fight by unanimous decision. And I was completely wrong. I don't have any problems admitting that. But I picked Barrios not just based on nothing. I picked Barrios based on a few factors. I picked him based on I thought he was the fighter with the better technical ability. I looked at Barrios as being more disciplined than Ryan. You guys know Ryan was all over the place for a while. I picked him based on that, and I also picked him based on experience, being in the ring with the better fighters, guys like Keith One-Time Thurman, guys like Manny Pacquiao. They both fought Tank, so I can't really use that one. Jordanis Ugas, I just thought he had the better resume, and he was well more equipped, in my opinion, going into this fight. But like I said, Ryan rose to the occasion. He proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. He went in there last night. He was just sharp. His 1-2s were on point. He was punching through Barrios's guard. Not only was he throwing the left hook, he was throwing the right hook, landing. He dropped Barrios in the first round, in the first 10 seconds of the fight, with an overhand right. And Barrios, I think after that, he never really recovered. He just seemed shell-shocked from that time on. Ryan Garcia did extensive work. He was the faster of the two. He did a lot of body work, right hooks to the body. And Barrios, I was very disappointed in Barrios because he just seemed like he was standing there and just being a punching bag. He never established his jab. He didn't move his head. He didn't make any adjustments in the ring. He was just there to be hit. And I've seen Barrios perform a lot better with guys like Keith Thurman, with guys like Manny Pacquiao, with guys like Jordanis Ugas. And last night, he just seemed to be a complete shell of himself. So I don't know what the deal was with him, but that's not to take away from what Ryan accomplished in the fight. I thought Ryan put on a masterclass performance last night. Now, what I want to talk about, you guys know Ryan Garcia was suspended for performance-enhancing drugs before the Rolly fight. You guys know that. He was suspended for a year. And the talk today, I'm hearing a lot of people saying that Ryan was on performance-enhancing drugs. Some people are speculating that he was on drugs leading up to this fight. Some people are flat out saying that he was on the Super Serum in this fight. And I want to say this because I think it's important when we put stuff out here to be honest. And I know honesty is not the best policy. Honesty doesn't really get you the views. But I think it's important to be honest because there's so much dishonesty in the sport of boxing. Now, when Ryan popped hot for an illegal banned substance after the Haney fight, I was 100 on this because the proof was in the pudding. I think he failed the VADA testing. He failed the testing for the New York State Athletic Commission. There was no doubt in my mind that Ryan Garcia was on performance-enhancing drugs. And I let that be known. honesty is always the best policy. Some people, they wanted to spin it. They wanted to make it like it was conspiracy uh, with the Victor Conte stuff and Devin Haney and them being friends and things of that nature. It was a lot of misdirection. But the facts were the facts. Ryan Garcia failed the drug test. Ryan Garcia was suspended for having performance enhancing drugs in his system for a year. Now, people are saying that he had it in his system. And in all honesty, we can't really say that. Sure, you can speculate that, but people are saying it like it's facts. And I think it's a disservice to say things like that until you have proof, in my opinion. He took the VADA test. I saw, he got his blood drawn. So my thing is, let's see what happens first before we say that he was on performance enhancing drugs. Let the testing come back first, and then we can then we can say whether or not he was on there. I can't say that he was on performance enhancing drugs in this fight. That would be me being biased and dishonest because I don't know that. I knew in the other circumstances that he was, because the test proved that he had stuff in his system, but I can't say for sure here. You can only speculate. So I think, I know a lot of times the mainstream media isn't fair about things. They're not putting things up front like they should be. They're trying to spin the narratives, but I think there's a place for honesty in the sport of boxing. It just seems like no one's honest. Everyone is playing this game where they want to, they have an agenda. You know what I'm saying? Not just one side, but I think a lot of times both sides are playing this agenda thing. And honesty just seems to never want to have his day. I guess, controversy sells. That's why, guys who come on here and be honest on YouTube are not going to get the views as somebody that's pandering to a certain demographic or a certain community. But I think honesty should have its day. But anyway, like I said, congratulations to Ryan for winning the fight. Even though I'm not a big fan of Ryan, you guys know that. I didn't like, the racist stuff and all the other things that played out with Ryan. But I still have to give him his props for what he did in the ring. And now that he's a champion, let's get some of these unification fights going. You got 4 champions at 147 pounds. Let's run it back with Rolly. Let's run it back with Devin Haney. You got Lewis Crocker out there. I think there should be one face, one name in the 147-pound division. These guys are young. These guys are hungry. And this is, in my opinion, what's best for boxing. The best fighting the best competition out there. What's the problem with that? I just don't understand the pushback on that. I just don't understand the pushback on being honest. But anyway, I'm just rambling on. You guys let me know what you think. Am I right? Should we just let things play out before we make I wouldn't say speculate. I would say people coming out saying for sure that someone was on something before we have the facts. You guys let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. It's the CMB. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.